Welcome to Lessons in Leadership. Steve Adubato with the great Mary Gamba, who's listening to some audio book about being present while she was multitasking and texting 6 other people. Mary, how you doing?
I'm doing great. And what I didn't tell you is that I listened to that audiobook while walking, while texting, while driving. So I don't know if I'm truly learning, but I do feel that it is helping me to slow down and breathe a little bit more often.
And speaking of being present, we have the presence of Michele Adubato. Yes, she's my sister, but way more importantly, the CEO of the Northward Center and the founder of the Center for Autism. Michele, first of all, I'm not going to make a big deal about the book Over Your Right Shoulder, which is a best-selling New York Times book. I don't want to make a big deal. But what did you say you have? What did you say you have hanging in your house? Tells you what?
First of all, that's a wonderful book. I look at it. I've not actually read it, but I hear it's very good.
Yeah, you should. You should. You should read the one about being nice to your younger brother. Come on. What's the thing in your house?
I have something in my house, very, on the mantle that says very clearly, and be here now. Be here now. Absolutely.
And in that spirit, let's be all about, in all seriousness. By the way, can we get this out of the way? Michele and I don't have many chances to do this publicly. Mary, I know you'll appreciate this as well. Michele, can we wish our mom? Do we say the number?
Absolutely. She's proud of it.
I lie about my age.
You lie all the time about your age.
She's turning 90.
90.
And she looks amazing.
Yeah, she really does.
She tells us all the time how great she looks.
Yeah. Happy birthday, friend. Yes. Thanks for watching.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Mom, I'm going to be nice to Michele like you told me this morning to be. But Michele, in all seriousness, let's talk about something that's no joke. We're involved in this initiative. You and I talked when we started it. I told you we were engaged in an initiative called Vaccines, What You Need to Know, in cooperation with the folks at Hackensack Meridian Health and the New Jersey State Department of Health. What do we need to know? And Michele knows more about autism than most. What do we need to know about vaccines and autism? Lots of confusion, shouldn't be.
There's no confusion. Let me make it, here it is. Ready? Vaccines do not cause autism. And I think that's the problem where people think there's confusion when there's no confusion. The confusion is called social media, conspiracy theories, which has been rampant, as we know, in everything. Vaccines do not cause autism. But you know what vaccines do? They save lives. That's what they do. I think what happened, somebody jumped on, there was one silly study with 12 people, and that has been debunked over and over and over again. But we need to remember something, that it happens to be a coincidence, that it could be that when autism presents itself, it could be at that same age, between that age where you may be getting a vaccine. So what we need to think about is it's maybe a coincidence, but it's not a cause.
That's a good, so people confuse.
Absolutely.
Oh, it must be that.
Yes.
Not that.
Because when we don't understand something, we want to put a label on it. And autism certainly cannot be labeled one thing. We see that all the time. It's a spectrum disorder. I mean, it's a spectrum. It's, and there are obviously different reasons or different theories why that occurs. But 100% vaccines do not cause autism.
Before as Mary jumps in, I'll remind folks, Michele is not only the CEO of the Northward Center, an organization our dad founded in 1970, a multi-purpose community-based organization, services that range from very small children all the way to adult daycare center, folks in their 80s, 90s, beyond, but also the founder of the Center for Autism, a nationally respected operation. Mary, jump in.
Sure thing. And this is also going to be airing on our PBS programming. So for full disclosure, the North Ward Center is an underwriter. Thank you for your support, Michelle, all these
Are
years.
they? I didn't know that.
We're supposed to disclose that right here on PBS. So Michelle, I would love to just get your input and site guidance for those parents who are unsure. What can and should, what's one great question when they go into that pediatrician, instead of following social media and asking questions? I see people on Facebook all the time saying, should I get the MMR? I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that vaccine. One piece of advice that you have for those parents to become informed when they go in to see their pediatrician.
Well, Mary, I would say safety first and follow the science. And you know what's happening now, especially with measles and unvaccinated children, is it's actually dangerous not to get these. And if you follow the science, which is, let me clarify something, it's very difficult these days to follow science and what's real and what's not real. But when you have to take a moment, you either trust, at some point you have to trust the experts and the scientists and the health profession and the countless people that have studied this, but also the advocates like myself who will come out and say, emphatically, you need to make sure your child is safe and getting vaccines are safe.
Michelle, we're going to do a separate segment with Michelle about not-for-profit leaders, for not-for-profit leadership in these incredibly challenging and uncertain times. But I'm curious about this. How has the confusion on the part of some and the mixed messages on the part of some credible public officials, how has it impacted your work?
Greatly. It's, I think it's hard enough to have a diagnosis of autism, but to throw on top of that some type of guilt that is not valid, not warranted, that maybe you did something.
Maybe a parent did something by vaccinating their kid?
Yeah, maybe they're the reason why this happened. I mean, it's actually cruel. I find it very cruel. I've had questions posed to me. Could this have been? Could it have been? And I think there's a cruelty to this, that we have officials now that are kind of, it's interesting. They're saying one thing and they're saying another thing from another side of their mouth. They're not being clear. I think they're intentionally being vague because they've said so many other things that vaccines are an issue. But when it comes down to it, I think that, it's unfortunate that we have our officials that are actually saying that. And I could totally understand why parents in the community could be confused.
Yeah, if government officials, and we don't editorialize or do commentary, at least from this seat, we don't, Mary and I, anyone on our team anchoring a program. But I will say this, if you say on one hand, you should have your kid get the MMR vaccine, but we need to do more studies to find out, that is by any definition a mixed message. That's confusing. Mary, one more question for Michelle.
Yeah, it's just going back to the elected officials. What can and should they be doing to, in those moments when they have that spotlight, use social media to clarify that message? I feel like most people are just hiding. They're afraid to, put the facts out there. But what message do you have to those elected officials?
They need to be very clear. Vaccines do not cause autism. Say that sentence. Say it.
And say nothing after that.
Nothing.
No more. We don't need more studies.
Absolutely not.
It's so. Yeah.
They need to be clear.
Yeah. I'm not. I'm going to avoid saying anything else. I'm going to leave it at that. Michelle has worked. Michelle, just by way of background, so people know, you are not a clinician, but you have been an advocate and engaged in the autism community.
I have dealt with countless physicians, all types of agencies, all types of medical professionals. Never, ever have I come across, to be honest with you, one medical professional that has said that to me. In fact, they say the complete opposite.
Michele Adubato, the founder of the Center for Autism, their website, make sure the website's been up the entire program and the post-production, but also the CEO of the North Ward Center, an organization our dad founded, Steve Adubato Sr. Check him out on our Remember Them series. We did a nice half hour on his life and legacy. and Michele Adubato is living it out every day. And we'll do another segment with Michele talking about not-for-profit leadership in incredibly challenging and uncertain times. Thank you, Michele. Mom's going to be proud of you. You're supposed to say she's going to be never mind. We'll be right back after this.
We'll be right back.
This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Vicino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825, the North Ward Center, Gingoli Construction, the New Jersey Sharing Network, Delta Dental of New Jersey, the Helix, Fedway Associates Inc., the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com. That's stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague Mary Gamba has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media. We're joined once again by Michele Adubato, the CEO of the North Ward Center. Check out their website. It's up right now. A not-for-profit organization making a difference every day, particularly for citizens in Newark, New Jersey, and also the founder of the Center for Autism. Hey, Michele, let's do this. Leading two not-for-profit organizations in 2025, number one challenge, other than, as we say in our old neighborhood, shkadol, which is money. Go ahead.
It's not just money. I think people need to understand the purpose of nonprofits and how nonprofits use the money and use the revenue and how it comes down the stream. And I'm just going to be very clear about, like, people talk about waste. There's a lot of conversations about waste and fraud. When you get federal money, it's budgeted, line item. We have to account for every single dime we get. And I think that's kind of a misnomer that people, you just get this money. And all of our money goes to, for the North Ward Center and Center for Autism, goes to the idea of direct services. So it's not like I actually have a lot of discretion in terms of I get the money for this program and there's items where I have to put that.
Right.
So when people talk about, how we're going to save money, I think nonprofits do an excellent job of using the money where it's needed.
Mary, because Mary and I run.
Well, and it's funny that you say that, Michele. So we run a nonprofit as well. We have a meeting coming up.
We don't have government. We intentionally do not see government funds, to be
correct.
Clear.
But funding is funding. You need that money coming in a nonprofit.
Yep. And runs a different kind of organization. They need that government funding. Go ahead, Mary.
Definitely. When it comes to board management and overseeing your team and transparency and trust, talk a little bit about your approach to leading your board, leading your team to be transparent, but not the sky is falling in a sense of panic.
Yeah, Mary, that's really, an interesting question, because we need to lead in times of turmoil. But to actually say that it is not a crisis is just not being transparent. There is a crisis going on. We're waiting and waiting and waiting to see where, when, not if, these cuts are coming. They're coming. And it is kind of getting my leadership team and my board I've been talking about this for months. I actually spoke about it way before things changed. And because you just knew that it had to come that way. There was no way that this was going to be the way where there's going to be federal funding cut.
Which then impacts state funding.
Absolutely, of course, because the federal government's going to slash it from 30-40% and say to the states, here's your block grant, go ahead, go for it. And so
how do you do that without scaring the heck? Because we struggle with this every day as well. How do you do that, Michele, without scaring the heck out of team members, board members, and everyone around you?
I don't know if the word is scared. Be ultra aware. we need to be very concerned. I mean, like I said, to talk, to say like, it's not going to be that bad, or we can weather this storm. There are many nonprofits that are not going to weather that storm. If that's being scared, but you know what? We will. And I'm going to tell you why we will. Because we're not going to just wait to see what's going to happen. We're looking right now to say, how do we bring additional revenue back into the Center for Autism? Let's think a little differently.
That's right.
And that's where I think we need to be looking at. And I think that's some of the issues for nonprofits, is because they get into this, this routine. That's how we get money.
Michele, stay on that point. I'm going to plug this book. Mary and I are talking. This can go in our leadership library. Mary, Michele, we're going to make sure we send you this book. It's from Adam Grant, who is a scholar up at Harvard, who wrote this book called Think Again. What he says is, we don't know what we don't know. And the best leaders don't just keep doing what they've been doing forever. And that's what Michelle's talking about right now. Michele, before I let you go, let me try this. I'm curious, Mary.
Well, I was hoping you're going with buddy treats. We have about a minute and a half, 2 minutes left.
Because there are two dog lovers here, and one.
I know. We could just put Steve.
You're not one of them.
We could put Steve in the waiting room right now, and Michele and I will just finish this interview. So, Michele, tell me about buddy treats and the importance of. I know it's in the planning stages, but social enterprises. What buddy treats is? We have about a minute and a half left. Talk about it, and we'll put up some great images.
Who the heck is Buddy?
Yeah, please, Stephen. Let's X Stephen out on this, but it is. So let me just very quickly tell you what a social enterprise is. It's basically, unlike traditional businesses where it's just focusing on profits, a social enterprise will, yes, look at profits, but for a socially responsible cause. Okay. And so what we're looking at is a social enterprise that will help employment for people with neurodiverse backgrounds. That's huge. People with autism and being employed, but also to be funneling the profits, if that occurs, back into the Center for Autism, hence revenue.
Will you tell folks what Buddy Treats is?
So we've got Buddy Treats. Buddy Treats. What is that? It's a limited ingredient, very healthy treat for dogs that will be made and produced and sold by people with neurodiverse backgrounds.
You didn't tell everyone who Buddy is. Not everyone watching knows who Buddy is.
Oh, there's been pictures up. He is now an official.
You need to learn from Buddy, okay?
An official.
Everybody knows who Buddy is.
Oh, everybody knows Buddy. Michele,
TikTok, Buddy's.
Buddy is
an official certified therapy dog.
Buddy he's not a therapy dog in training anymore. He actually passed his test 2 times. It took 2 times, but he passed. He is a therapy dog that we use here. We've used him since he's been 3 months old. He's now going to be 3 years old. And he goes to all of our programs. He is loved. He's got the capital C charisma, just like you, Stephen.
Just like me. Except the reality is Buddy is part of this initiative, this very entrepreneurial mission, using those resources, frankly, in a very creative, innovative way.
And that's where we have to, again, think differently as nonprofit leaders. Where can we look at revenue and look at it a different way?
Right. And by the way, check out the website to find out more about Buddy Treats, a whole bunch of social media about Buddy and Buddy Treats. Michele, thank you. Well done, as always. Good job. See, she never says good job back. I'll leave it
I knew you were fishing for that.
No,
Thank you, Michele. Stay with us. Steve, stay with us. We'll be right back.
She said it, so that's what we're going to do. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Buccino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825, the North Ward Center, the New Jersey Sharing Network, Delta Dental of New Jersey, the Helix, Fedway Associates Inc., the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
Great drive fuels the leaders of tomorrow and today. Great vision paves the way for a brighter future. Great ambition goes places, moving onward and upward. Great empathy finds strength in kindness and in each other, working together to create something bigger than they ever imagined. Great minds can change the world, and great minds start at Seton Hall.
We're now joined by Dr. Alaine Arnott, who is President and CEO of National Liberty Museum. Doctor, good to have you with us.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me, Steve.
Put the website up. Tell everyone what the museum is.
The museum, we are a museum of ideas, not concepts. And as we were just joining, it's really important now because of everything that's happening as a country. So we look to bring people together that value freedom of thought, civil discourse, respect for all individuals in the essential pursuit of liberty.
How'd you get into this work?
I think I fell into it a little bit. My background's a bit of a hodgepodge, but I knew I wanted to be a leader within the cultural space, but I wanted to have the expertise in order to add true value. So I dabbled a little bit in the tech startup world. I went the MBA route. I was a teacher for a bit, but in the end, I think the work that the Liberty Museum is doing has culminated all of my background and my experience. My husband asked me, what are you going to do after running a Liberty Museum? And I was like, I don't know. Everything else would be pretty boring.
Yeah, it's really important work. And also I want to thank the folks at NJM, our good friends there, for making the connection to your organizations. Please, Mary.
Doctor, talk a little bit about, you mentioned that it's a museum of ideas and not things and artifacts. Can you give us an example? We're taping this now in April. It's going to be seen May, June, July, and it'll be repeating. Share an example of what an exhibit would be like if someone were to visit the museum, which happens to be in Philadelphia.
Correct. So if you walked into the museum right now, our core concept for the year is the year of free speech, which I think couldn't be more timely with everything going on, whether you're at a university, whether you're in politics, whether you're in medicine. So as you walk into the space
or media
fair. So as you walk in, you'll see 3 different galleries that are focused on free speech in collaboration with our permanent gallery space. So you'll see an exhibition that's focused on the foundation of free speech and what creates a culture of free speech. The second, we work with living artists to bring about a different way to approach how museums can create conversation. Sometimes you don't need words. Sometimes you need visuals in order to break that barrier of just having a hard conversation. And then the last one is about the future. And the future could be tomorrow, or it could be 20 years from now of free speech. So the exhibition that will actually launch in May, we are building out our first ever AI conversation. So you'll actually get in front of an AI with 6 different topics that are from easy to hard. So it could be about the banana that was up on that sold $5 million, I think it was $4 or $5 million.
It sure was.
Talk about that, or we could talk about the monuments and why monuments have been taken down. What does that mean from a liberty standpoint? Even getting into the transgender athlete issues and how do we talk about that? How can we, as Americans in a liberal democracy, embrace what it means to have free speech as it's the foundation of our country?
Let me follow up on this, Alaine. The Teacher as Hero Award. There are many teachers, many educational leaders who want to hold on to the intellectual integrity of what they do, their independence, the ability to do what they're doing without being told what to teach and how to teach it. What is that award and how is it connected to free speech?
So the Teacher's Hero Award are about teachers that are really embracing what it means to bring liberty, to bring civic dialogue, to bring civic education into the classroom. And that can be from inspiring students to do what we do as a part of our Young Heroes program as well, is action projects. How do we teach the next generation to have a voice? And I think the teachers that are doing that are the ones that really step up for this award. So that ties it back. How do you empower the next generation to live those same values that we're looking for as an American, as the American society?
Mary.
You talked about our young adults, our future generations, and I'm fascinated by the AI, the challenges that of how young adults are using AI today, how can we teach these young adults to really honor and embrace free speech, but also being respectful of others, especially with how some young adults are using or inappropriately using AI today?
I think it's a learning with any new tool that's introduced to our society. It takes a minute to figure it out. I mean, if you think about social media as the prime example, and now I think with Jonathan Haidt's book that came out about the the next generation,
an anxious generation.
Yeah, anxious generation, and I think things like that. We will go down rabbit holes, but we have to self-correct. And I think that's a part of it. I think it's also really critical in our time, and I'll go back to civics education, that we teach students how civics education isn't just about the Constitution. It is about creating citizens that value what we value as a country. And that's, in terms of AI, that's a respect. We still have to be knowledgeable. We still have to be educated and see AI as a tool to help us become better citizens.
I'm curious about this, Doctor. Do you think, and this is anything but political, to me, this is about patriotism and loving our country, in part for the fact that we're supposed to be fighting for the rights of others who we disagree with to say what they believe without it being dangerous to other people, fighting for the right of free speech. But in all honesty, there are a fair number of people who believe in free speech as long as your speech is consistent with what I think. And if we agree, you're fine. If we don't, you're dangerous and need to be stopped. Am I oversimplifying it, Doctor?
No, I don't think so. And that's why I think the work that we do at the Liberty Museum is so important. We bring together diversity of thought and perspective so that when you go to a speaker program or you see an exhibition, it's not about politics. It's not about us versus them. It's about looking through different lenses, because that's what makes America such a great country, is that we have varied backgrounds. We have the ability to look at things in multiple ways. And if we ever lose that, then we become a one-dimensional country that cannot have the creativity and the innovation and all of the other aspects that come with having those diversity.
One more quick follow-up. Isn't it scary for some in media and higher education, other educational institutions, not-for-profit organizations, to engage in this thing called free speech if, in fact, much of their financial support comes from government sources who are saying, nah, if you don't acquiesce, we're cutting off the spigot. It's in theory, free speech makes perfect sense. But when you have to pay bills and everybody has to get a check every 2 weeks, easier said than done, no?
Oh, yes. Actually, as of the last night at about 6 o'clock, I got the notification that our IMLS grant was terminated. And this is a big hit for us. But one of the things I think—
What grant is that? Is that from the government?
Yep, that's federal government. So that happened last night. And for me, it changes every 4 years. You're not going to know, especially at the federal level, what's going to happen. So I think it's our job as nonprofits and cultural centers to really look at diversification of revenue sources. And that's hard and it's challenging, but we also need to challenge the current generation, the next generation of givers and donors, that we can't rely on the government to be our funding source. We've got to value it as a larger society, what cultural, the arts, sciences bring to us as citizens.
It is more important than ever before. Couldn't care less what your politics is, but protecting and fighting for people's right to engage in free speech. I think it's somewhere in the Constitution. It might be the first, who knows. Dr. Alaine Arnott, President and CEO of the National Liberty Museum. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
You got it from Mary and myself and our team. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Buccino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825, the North Ward Center, Jingoli Construction, the New Jersey Sharing Network, Delta Dental of New Jersey, the Helix, Fedway Associates Inc., the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856.
This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com. That's stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague Mary Gamba has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media.